It started like all stupid love stories do. I was 24, fresh out of college, and broke in every way possible. Emotionally, financially, and spiritually. I moved into a new apartment in the city to start my first full-time job as a graphic designer at a small ad agency. And on my third day there, I met Liam. He was sitting with two co-workers in the break room, and the moment I walked in, he noticed me. Actually, he noticed everything. My shoes, my notebook, the way I nervously tucked hair behind my ear. "First day?" he asked. I nodded. He grinned like he could already guess my whole personality. "Welcome to chaos. Want coffee?" That was how it began. Small talk over coffee, then lunch breaks, then inside jokes. He made me feel like I mattered. He was good-looking in an approachable way, not model handsome, but real. Tall, soft eyes, a dimple when he smiled, and he made me laugh. God, I hadn't laughed like that in months. But what I didn't see then was how intense he was, how he always needed to know where I was. Why did he get quiet when I mentioned a male friend? Why did he panic if I didn't text back immediately? At first it felt like passion, devotion. Someone finally wanted me, really wanted me. Who was I to push that away? But devotion can turn to obsession so quietly you don't hear the shift. I remember the first time something felt wrong. I went out to dinner with my coworker, Sarah, girls' night. She was ranting about her boyfriend, and my phone buzzed. "Liam? Liam? How's the dinner?" My chest tightened. I glanced at Sarah. How did he know? I wondered. I shrugged it off. Maybe I'd posted something, or he guessed. Then I got a second message. "Liam, don't eat too much bread. It makes you tired. No emojis, no jokes. Just that." I didn't reply. A few minutes later, another. "Liam, why aren't you answering me?" I lied and said my phone died, but the truth was, I was scared, not terrified yet, just uneasy. The kind of unease you feel walking alone at night while hearing footsteps behind you. Little did I know, soon I would be walking alone at night, and those footsteps would be real. We dated for 7 months, and for 7 months I made excuses. He just loves me too much. He's just protective, not controlling. He had a rough childhood, that's why he gets jealous. Self-gaslighting, I was good at it, but on our 7-month anniversary I decided to surprise him. I drove to his house, let myself in with the spare key he gave me, and walked into his living room, and I heard him talking on the phone. To another girl. He wasn't cheating. That would have been easier to forgive, I think, but what he said chilled me. I don't care if she cries. Emma needs to understand she's mine, and nobody leaves me. You get that? I don't just let go. The way he said mine wasn't romantic, it was ownership. I left quietly that night. I packed my things, blocked his number, deleted my socials, moved into my coworker's spare room for a while. But you can't block someone who's already memorized your life. It started with the texts. New number, unknown. You moved, that's cute, unknown. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Unknown. Come home, Emma. Then came the calls, the voicemails, whispered like love letters from hell. You're breaking my heart. We're meant to be. Stop hiding from me. I already know where you are. I called the police, reported him. They told me since he hadn't physically threatened me, there wasn't much they could do. I changed my number. He found it again. I moved into a new building. He sent me photos of my front door. Then one night, I found a note taped to my car windshield. I can see you when you sleep. It was written in red ink that looked like blood, but wasn't the scariest part. The signature, just one word, forever. I quit my job, packed everything, and left the city. My aunt had a cabin near Lake Crescent, about 2 hours away from the nearest town. No neighbors, mostly woods. It was the safest place I could think of. 3 days in, I felt peace again, silence. I deleted social media, unlisted my name on every website I could find. I thought I was finally free, until one night someone knocked on the door at 3:14 a.m. Just one knock. I froze in bed, didn't move, didn't breathe. Another knock. Slow, deliberate. Then my phone vibrated. Unknown number. It's cold out here, let me in. I didn't answer, I didn't move, but then I heard it, a familiar muffled voice through the door, soft, smiling. "M. My sweet girl, I told you, you can't hide from me." That's when I knew Liam was here, And this time he wasn't leaving without me. I didn't move for almost 20 minutes after the knocking stopped. I lay there in my bed, breathing as quietly as I could, listening for footsteps outside, listening for the crunch of leaves or the sound of a doorknob turning. It was dead silent. Until it wasn't. The front porch creaked, not like a random old house shift, but like weight, like feet, like someone pacing. Then, slowly, a shadow moved across the window of my bedroom. I stayed perfectly still, not because I was brave, but because shock had numbed my body into a statue. My mind felt like it had shattered into glass. When the shadow finally moved away, I heard the gravel shifting near the driveway. I guessed he'd gone back to his car, but no engine, no door, just silence. 30 minutes later, I found the courage to crawl out of bed and make my way to the window. I didn't see anyone, no cars, nothing. But on the ground, 5 feet from the porch, was something small and shiny. A key, my old front door key, from my apartment in the city. He must have left it there on purpose, not as a threat, but as a message. I've been inside your world before. I'll do it again. I didn't sleep. I didn't even blink. At dawn, I grabbed my aunt's old rifle from the closet, loaded it just in case, and walked outside. The air bit my skin with cold, but I didn't care. I just needed to confirm something. Was he really here, or was I unraveling? Then I saw them. Footprints, leading from the edge of the woods, straight to my front door. Boot prints, a size maybe 11. Too big to be mine, too deliberate to be random. I grabbed my phone. I'm calling the police. Unknown. Do it. Unknown. I'll watch. I watch. I hadn't even finished typing when the second message came through. He was watching me right then, somewhere in the trees. I scanned the woods, but everything blended. The trunks, the branches, the shadows between them. He could have been anywhere. I went back inside and dialed 911. The officer was kind but firm. "Ma'am, how do you know it's your ex? Has he harmed you physically? Has he trespassed inside the property?" "No," I said, "but he's stalking me. He knocked on my door. He left a key from my old apartment. They said they'd send a patrol when they could. It might be hours." That's when it hit me. Out here, miles from town, miles from people, I wasn't just alone. I was unprotected, and Liam knew it. I spent the entire day locked inside the cabin, every window shut, every curtain closed. I sat on the couch, phone in one hand, rifle in the other. Every noise, every creak, every wind gust made me jump. Then at 4:11 p.m. my phone vibrated again. "Unknown, you look tired. Didn't sleep?" I froze. He wasn't guessing. He was watching me. I looked up, slowly, at the living room window. The one across from the couch. The one with the smallest tear in the fabric, just barely enough to see through. I grabbed the curtain and yanked it open. Nothing, just trees, untouched snow, silence. But when I sat back down, I heard it, faint, barely audible, like someone whispering through the walls. "Emma." I stood up fast, spun around, heart racing. The whispering stopped, then again, from behind the back door this time. "Em." I couldn't decide if it was real, if it was in my head, if the silence was playing tricks on me. Then, the most chilling thing happened. My phone rang. The caller ID said no caller ID. I answered. I shouldn't have answered, baby. It was Liam, close, whispering. "You sound scared. Please don't be scared." I hung up and threw the phone across the room. That was when I realized it wasn't fear that paralyzed me. It was knowing that someone who once held me, kissed me, whispered love into my ear, now wanted to own me, forever, and he was still convinced it was love. 2 officers showed up around 8 p.m., just before it got dark. I told them everything. The texts, the knocking, the footprints, the phone calls, the key. They searched the property, found nothing. Calmly told me, "No signs of forced entry, no person on the grounds. We suggest staying vigilant, locking the doors, and don't engage with the messages." They didn't understand. Liam didn't need to break in. He needed me to break down. Before they left, one officer handed me a card. "Call this number if you feel unsafe. We're 40 minutes out from this area on average." 40 minutes. In 40 minutes I could be dead, buried, or gone. After the door closed, I cried, not from sadness but from helplessness. I had turned my life into a fortress, but it wasn't enough. He was still inside my head, inside my phone, one step away from being inside this house. At 1:47 a.m., I woke up to the most disturbing sound I've heard in my life. Not footsteps, not knocking, breathing. Outside my bedroom window, slow, heavy, rhythmic, like someone exhaling on glass. I didn't move, my eyes were open but frozen. Then something slid under the crack at the bottom of my bedroom door, a folded note. I stared at it, paralyzed for what felt like hours. Then, with trembling hands, I picked it up. Inside, in small, neat handwriting, was a single sentence. "Don't make this harder than it has to be." Beneath it, a single red fingerprint, thumb-sized. I dropped the note, heart pounding, and crawled backward into the closet, rifle in hand, barely breathing. Then my phone buzzed from across the room. "Unknown. Did you like the note?" That was when I broke. I sobbed, out loud, never felt so violated in my own space. Every shadow in the room felt alive, and finally I whispered to no one, "What do you want from me?" Seconds later my phone lit up again. Unknown. Everything. Morning came. I hadn't slept again. The sun came up but didn't feel like light. It felt like a veil over something much darker. I tried to call every contact I had. No one answered. My aunt was abroad. My old coworker's number was disconnected. My phone wouldn't even connect to the internet reliably. Every time it did, I tried to block him. Within minutes, he'd message me from a different number. Unknown. Stop trying to lock me out. Unknown, I won't go away. Ever. That night I heard it again. Something behind the cabin. Movement. I turned off all the lights. Hid in the bathroom. Sat in the dark for what felt like hours. Then something hit the window. Hard. Like a rock. I screamed. When I finally found the courage to peek, there was something lying in the snow. A dead bird. Its wings spread and its neck twisted unnaturally. Pinned to its chest was another note. "We're starting over." Something in me snapped. I wasn't going to be hunted anymore. Not like this. Not silently. Not curled up in corners waiting for death or capture. I pulled out the shotgun and walked outside. Snow crunched beneath my shoes. My breath formed clouds in the bitter air. The woods stared back at me like thousands of unseen eyes. "You want me?" I yelled into the night. "Come get me." Silence. Then a laugh. A soft, mocking laugh. Somewhere deep in the trees. I didn't wait. I fired. A deafening blast lit up the night sky. Nothing moved. No scream. No footsteps fleeing. Just silence. The kind that swallows hope. I walked back inside and locked every door, every window, and as the clock hit 3 a.m. I heard it again. Knock, knock, but not at the front door, not the back. The attic trapdoor. He was inside the house, and I was alone when I heard the thump above my ceiling, the attic door trembling. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I didn't run, I froze. Not like before. Paralyzed by fear. This time it was something else, something ancient and primal. It was the moment prey realizes it's out of places to hide. I tightened my grip on the rifle and took one slow, quiet breath, then another. The attic hatch was closed but shaking like someone was pushing down on it from above, testing the lock, not frantically. Slowly, almost curious. Then I heard footsteps, soft shuffling across insulation and old wood, delicate, calculated. Like he knew exactly where I was beneath him. I stood beneath the hatch for a full minute before my knees gave out. I backed away, didn't take my eyes off it, didn't blink. My voice finally broke in the dark. "Liam," I whispered. It slipped out. A confession, a plea. The movement in the attic stopped. Then, my phone vibrated in the pocket of my pajama pants. A message, unknown. "I'm so close." That was when the shaking started. Not from him, from me. But I couldn't let panic own me now. Not this time. A new part of me was waking up. Something furious, something beyond tired of running. If this was going to end, then it was going to end here, one way or another. I didn't call 911. I called the one person I hadn't dared involve yet. My older brother Jason, ex-military, the only person in my life who could look at a man like Liam and, if necessary, make him disappear. He answered on the first ring. "Em?" My voice cracked. "Jason, he's here." I didn't need to explain. He knew who I meant. He knew the name I wasn't saying out loud. Just like that, his tone changed. Quiet, controlled, dangerous. "Put the gun where you can reach it. Turn off every light. Barricade yourself in a room with one exit. Do it now." I did. I dragged the dresser in front of the bedroom door, locked it, and positioned myself facing the entrance, shades drawn. Light off, rifle ready. Jason was already on his way before I finished explaining. "I'll be there by dawn," he promised, but dawn felt like centuries away. "He got into the house somehow, the attic. He's sending me messages." "Listen to me," Jason said firmly. "He wants you frightened. He wants you to be reactive. Don't give him that. You're not prey. What if he comes down from the attic? He won't, not yet. Psychos like him. They play with their food." Silence. Then, low and even, Jason said, "You hurt him if you have to." It was the closest thing to a blessing I'd ever been given. The hours between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. didn't feel human. I sat in total silence, only hearing my own breath and the occasional shift of wood in the ceiling. Each shift felt like footfalls. My phone buzzed again. Unknown. "You're so pretty when you're scared. I can't wait to see your face." I didn't reply. Another message a minute later. Unknown. "Don't ignore me. You will never ignore me." I clenched my teeth and typed back with trembling fingers. "Me. Leave. Now. My brother's coming. You won't win this." A pause. Then, "Unknown, baby, you don't understand. He can't save you. No one can." At 4:13 a.m. the attic hatch creaked again. This time it wasn't tested, it was opening. I heard the latch click, then saw a sliver of darkness appear as the door lowered slowly, carefully. Silently, I raised the rifle, didn't dare breathe. The barrel pointed straight at the entrance, eyes locked, waiting for a face, a hand, a foot, but he didn't climb down, he just spoke. From inside the darkness above me, his voice was low, almost gentle. "You were everything to me, Emma. I felt my bones go cold." "You don't get it," he continued. "You belong to me. You still do. That's not something you walk away from." I didn't reply. I didn't move. "You're making this harder," he whispered. "If you'd just come back home, none of this would have happened." Then soft laughter. "But you chose this." He closed the hatch. Silence. No more footsteps. Just waiting. I didn't break until 5:09 a.m. That's when the note slid, under the bedroom door. He'd already been inside the room, in the dark, before I barricaded it, before I'd even thought to check. I stared at it. My hands trembling so violently the gun rattled against the floor. The paper was folded 3 times. I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to see what fresh horror was waiting inside. But I had to. I picked it up. Slowly. Inside it said, "I'm already in the house. The attic is just for show." My stomach dropped. I looked at the vent in the corner, the closet, the shadows beneath the bed. He was already here. Not above me, not outside. Somewhere in the walls, somewhere close. My lungs seized. I pointed the gun at the bathroom door. Then the closet. Then the window. Heart pounding. That was when the whisper came. Directly behind me. "Where you gonna run now?" I whipped around and fired. The blast lit up the room, violent and bright. But I hit nothing. Just the wall, splintered paint, silence, and then slow clapping. From behind the dresser I'd barricaded the door with. He was in the room. The door hadn't opened. He hadn't climbed down from the attic. He'd been in the vents, slipped out before I had dragged the furniture. Quiet, efficient, a predator. I didn't even have time to scream before I felt him grab my ankle. I kicked, hard. The shot I fired had left my ears ringing. Every movement felt dreamlike. Heavy. I screamed Jason's name. I screamed until my throat went raw. But the only response I got was Liam's voice in the darkness. "You could have been happy with me," he said quietly, dragging me across the floor by the ankle. "I was so good to you." I thrashed, clawed at the carpet, reached for the gun. Fingers caught the barrel, but he kicked it away. "Stop fighting me," he snapped. "I didn't want this. You made me do this." His voice shook with anger. It hurts, that was the worst part, that he thought this was love, that in his mind this was love. With one last surge of strength, I twisted and kicked him in the face. He fell back and I scrambled away, grabbing the fallen rifle. I didn't aim. I fired blindly. Then again and again. The room was filled with smoke, debris, silence. His body was nowhere to be seen. He'd escaped, like smoke, like a nightmare that shape-shifts with every breath. And somewhere in that haze of gunpowder and pain, I heard a car engine roaring in the distance. Jason, my brother, was here. He reached the house in minutes, bursting through the front door with a handgun drawn, yelling my name. I didn't run to him. I didn't hug him. I just collapsed, in the middle of the floor, wrapped in my own hands, choking on sobs I didn't know I could make. Jason scooped me up, hold me tight. "It's okay," he whispered. "I'm here. It's over." But I couldn't speak. I didn't know how to say the truth. It wasn't over, because Liam wasn't dead. He wasn't caught. And I didn't know where he'd go next. But I knew one thing for sure. He wasn't done with me, absolutely. Here's part 4 of your true Stalker-Ex horror story, along with a powerful and chilling conclusion that brings the story full circle. This section will be around 3,000 plus words, plus a final wrap-up. Some stories end when the stalker is gone. Others never stop haunting you. Jason didn't waste time. Within minutes of finding me, he cleared the cabin room by room, gun drawn, calm but sharp-eyed. I watched him open the attic door, crawl up with a flashlight, and disappear into the darkness. When he came down minutes later, he shook his head. He's not in the house anymore. I didn't know whether to feel relief or terror. But he was, I whispered. He got in. Jason nodded. I believe you. That was what I needed. Not comfort, not pity. Someone who believed me. He put me in his truck, brought me back to his house 2 towns over. A 2-story home with reinforced doors, garage code, cameras, and 2 very large German shepherds. We stayed up most of the night. I slept maybe an hour. Jason sat by the door with a shotgun. By dawn, I thought maybe the nightmare was finally ending. But that was before the police called. Before they told us something new had turned up at the cabin. Something they couldn't explain. A deputy found it when they were securing the scene. Inside the walls, specifically, behind a vent in the bedroom, a sleeping bag, a water bottle, a knife, a journal. He had been living there, in the walls, in the crawl spaces, in the insulation I'd assumed was just part of the house's original structure. He'd been watching me through slats in the vents, through gaps in the sheetrock. He wasn't just around the house, he was inside it, inside my life, inside the air I breathed. The journal was the worst part, not because of what it said, but how it said it. Page after page of Emma. Dozens, hundreds, just my name, sometimes on repeat. Sometimes written in red, but the last page said something different. I'm not done. Jason closed the book slowly, jaw tight. I threw up in the kitchen sink. The police started a regional search. They questioned old co-workers, friends, neighbors. They flagged his car, his name, his bank accounts. But Liam was good, maybe too good. He had no job, no family, no real property, no criminal record. He was invisible. 3 weeks passed, no texts, no calls, no sightings. I started therapy. Jason tried to go back to work but barely slept. I spent most days in the guest room, curtains closed, light on, sleeping with my phone and a box cutter under my pillow. Every noise sounded like a footstep. Every shadow looked like him. But for 3 whole weeks, nothing. Until the cameras went out. The security feed went down at 3:14 a.m. Jason checked the breaker. Nothing wrong. Then he checked the dogs. Both were in the living room. Sitting stiff, ears alert, staring at the front door. Silent, terrified, Jason went for the shotgun. I screamed his name from upstairs. There was someone standing in the hallway outside my room, a silhouette, motionless, watching me. I couldn't see his face in the dark. But I knew Liam. He didn't move, just stood there, like this was the most normal thing in the world, like he was waiting for me to come to him, to accept that I really never escaped. Jason came up the stairs fast, and the moment Liam turned his head slightly toward the sound, Jason fired. The shot tore into the wall, missing him by inches, but he didn't run. He didn't scream. He just backed away into the darkness, silent, calm. Jason chased him, but by the time he rounded the corner, the front door was open, and Liam was gone. Again, Jason wanted me to keep staying with him. The police wanted to put me in witness protection. My therapist wanted me to move states, but none of that would change the truth. As long as Liam was alive, I would never be free. I made the choice no one wanted me to make. I'm going to face him. Jason was furious. Absolutely not. He wants you isolated. That's his terrain. That's why it has to end on mine. I left Jason's house 2 nights later, with his reluctant blessing. And his second gun, I rented a place under a fake name, no windows on the first floor, alarm system, mace, knife, gun, And most importantly, I left my phone on and unblocked one number, Liam's. If he wanted a final act, I was going to write the ending myself. It didn't take long, less than 72 hours after I unblocked him. He texted, "Unknown, where did you go? Unknown, I miss you. Unknown, I saw the cabin again. It felt empty without you." My hand hovered over the keyboard. Every word I typed made my pulse spike. Me, then come find me. Me, I won't run this time. No reply, not for hours. Then at 2:19 a.m. a single message lit up the screen. Unknown, on my way. I didn't sleep. I waited. Gun on the table, heart in my throat, not as prey, as the one who was finally done. He didn't knock this time. He walked in, slow, easy, like he owned the place, like he'd been expected. He looked the same, taller than I remembered, colder, pale, eyes staring at me like no time had passed. "Baby," he whispered, "you came back to me." I raised the gun. He didn't flinch. He didn't run. He smiled, because he thought I wouldn't do it. He really believed that even after everything. I still loved him, and maybe a part of me did, but it wasn't enough to save him. "It's over," I said. "You don't own me." He tilted his head, confusion flickering across his face like a dying spark. "I never wanted to hurt you," he whispered. "But you did," I said, and I pulled the trigger. The police ruled it self-defense. Jason arrived before the ambulance did, held me while I sat soaked in tears and gunpowder and relief so sharp it hurt to breathe. I stared at Liam's body for a long time. I expected to feel satisfaction, triumph, justice, but what I felt was grief, not for him, but for the part of me that died the day we met. The part that believed love was safe. The part that thought I could fix someone broken. The part that didn't know what obsession felt like from the inside out. It's been 8 months. I live in another state now. New number, new life, new strength. I sleep with the lights off again. Sometimes, but the truth? I'm not the same person anymore, and I don't want to be. Because I learned something no one talks about. You can survive a stalker, you can move, you can hide, you can shoot, you can win, but you never go back to who you were before. Some ghosts don't leave. They don't have to. They just change shape. Sometimes they look like shadows in your dreams, sometimes like someone who loved you once, and sometimes they look like you in the mirror.